Now I recognize the gentleman from South Carolina, the chairman of the Energy Subcommittee, Mr. Duncan, for his 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, many of my colleagues have dedicated their time to talk about safety, and obviously that's an important issue and part of this discussion. But I want to pivot a moment to talk about a different aspect of public safety, namely how to safeguard our individual liberties as American citizens. Several AV companies are offering ride-hail services on apps they control using fleets they own rather than selling those cars to American consumers who may wish to maintain control of their own vehicles, as most of us do today. Many of my constituents are wary of the potential to be forced into autonomous rideshare platforms rather than continuing to own their own vehicle. Mr. Bozzella, how can we ensure that consumers will retain this choice in the future, the choice to own and maintain their own cars, whether they're autonomous or not?
Yes, thank you. What I think you're going to see, in fact, what I know you're going to see with regard to this technology is a number of different use cases. So, for example, when you think about the definition of autonomous vehicles today, we're talking about not only fully autonomous self-drive vehicles with absolutely no driver, but we're also talking about what we refer to as level 3 vehicles, which are very likely to be owned by individuals. And in that case, you have a situation where sometimes the technology, the automated driving system is driving the vehicles, and sometimes the owner or the driver of the vehicle is operating those.
Like
those
Tesla's today, where you reach out.
Yes, although Tesla, as I understand it, is not a level 3 vehicle. Those are actual driver assist technologies. We're talking about a step beyond that, and there's a big bright line between assistance technologies and the type of technology I'm talking about. But that's an example where I think you'll see private ownership continue to flourish in a much safer context.
Yeah, thank you for that. Those of us who have watched the development of AI in the past few months have noticed a glaring problem that we have seen with big tech for years, namely the problem of bias, and in this case, programmatic bias. As a strong supporter of the Bill of Rights, I want to make sure that we have strong guardrails in this industry as it takes off, ensuring that we protect First Amendment rights, freedom of religion, speech, assembly, impact of mobility, the Second Amendment, freedom to bear arms, and the Fourth Amendment, freedom from warrantless search and seizures. So I'd like to hear from the witnesses, how do we protect against biased algorithm deciding which locations that AV will or will not go to, like gun shops or houses of worship or such thing? Mr. Shapiro, would you comment on that?
I think that this concern and the one prior are will be addressed in time, but I know you want to hear that they could be addressed today. I think the question of choice that you raised in your first question is something that will be debated perhaps 5-10 years from now still, because it would be too premature with so many options out there. There's no mandates anywhere. In terms of algorithmic bias, in terms of location, I can't imagine that's going to occur unless it potentially...
Well, I mean, it's already occurring with Airbnb. It's already occurring with some other app-based services where, you know, based on some political position you take, your support for certain constitutional rights prohibits that private contractor or private ownership company from allowing individuals to stay there and possibly for an AV like we're talking about today to take that person to that location. Mr. Bozzella, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I would say this, it would be hard to make a business that's not supportive of choice and customers broadly. What the goal of the companies we work every day with is to expand access to this type of transportation, urban, rural, everywhere, because ultimately it is about safety and it is about choice and it is about freedom of movement. That's what really defines this technology at this stage in the game. So it would be hard for me to imagine a scenario where a company could be successful
Airbnb is really successful, and they banned Michelle Malkin just for her political views. How do we ensure that citizens have the right to concealed carry, and it can continue to do so in autonomous vehicles that other people own in a rideshare situation? Mr. Bozzella or Mr. Shapiro or anyone else on the panel?
I think the way it works today is that companies follow local laws, and that's what they do. Companies are very concerned about their reputations, And the concept of entering social issues is increasingly becoming disfavored because they recognize it's very difficult. So I think companies are just, the number one thing they're trying to do is make sure they go in the areas and follow the local speed limits that everyone's talking about. And I can't imagine that they're going to start saying we can't go into this area unless it's considered unsafe for self-driving vehicles or people are like throwing things at them or something. So in terms of issues like gun control or gun rights, depending on your view, I think that's an issue which I'd like to come back to the committee on because I haven't thought about before.
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing companies prohibit services to folks because of their political positions that they've taken publicly. And I just want to make sure it doesn't happen if we're moving toward AVs for rideshare apps, that sort of thing. Mr. Chairman, my time's up. I yield back.
Okay, the gentleman yields back.